Cloud. Welcome to the Midlife Pivot and Possibilities Podcast. I'm your host, Gail Keyes Allen, and today we have Lisa Winston with us. Hi, Lisa.
Yay. Good morning. It's
Introduce.
early here in California, but I am happy to be with you. I'm going to put my glasses on because I am squinting this morning. All right, there you go.
Well, I'm happy that to have you here. So introduce yourself to everybody and let's start the conversation.
Well, I'm Lisa Winston, and currently I am a full-time artist, abstract artist, intuitive artist, and I'm still a professional singer, so I'd like to branch out into that again at some point, but really just following my heart and having a blast and learning to play and get out of stuffy adult syndrome, and that's actually where I am at right now. That's where I'm at.
Well, Lisa and I met through being co-authors in a book,
Yeah.
and I'm interviewing several of the people from the book. And so I'm just really inspired by her story. And I just want to start out with you talking about what does it mean to you to be resilient in midlife?
Wow. Well, I think resiliency was not something that I was born with, absolutely. And life threw me a lot of challenges over the years, many years. I'm 65 now, and some pretty big ones. And so we all are human. We have our human dramas, we have our challenges. But I learned that it's really a choice when something happens. And I've never lost a child, like, anything traumatic like that, and I know some people who have, so
Mhm.
that's a whole nother can of worms, and I pray to God I never have to go through that. But in my own challenges, like losing my house to fire and breast cancer and almost dying from Lyme disease and all that kind of stuff, I really had to find, number one, my faith, because when I almost died from Lyme, I really felt like I lost my faith. I felt like God had left me. And then there I was, and
Mhm.
I was like, wait a minute, I love you, So I had to go through the darkness, kind of like the dark night of the soul with that. And all the other ones, it was kind of like, how they say, if you have lemons, make lemonade. It's kind of
Totally.
like that. You can live in victim mode. One of my favorite, sorry, allergies this morning. One of my favorite lines that I've used for a long time is that not only life is always happening for us, not to us,
Totally.
but truly it's not, you are not defined by your situations, by your challenges. I like to say that we are refined, like a diamond in the rough with our challenges.
Mm.
And if we step up, we look at whatever happened, learn the lessons, move forward, and stay in a state of gratitude as much as possible, then we
Mhm.
start to become more resilient. We build our resiliency. We know that life is going to knock us down sometimes. But
Right.
for me, again, faith is number one. If I didn't have my faith, I'd be in a black hole somewhere.
Totally. I get
you
that.
know but
Yeah.
then also mindset, really just choosing, and I'm not saying you're not human and you don't have human emotions. I'm not saying that. I'm
Right.
saying move through it, but then reflect on it and you know grow from it.
So we talked before, but everybody doesn't know about you. You just mentioned, like, in less than 5 minutes, the cancer, fire, Lyme disease. There's people that are going through similar things and some really major things. What do you want to share about those experiences? Like, what, because I've been through craziness. I call it craziness too, because we don't, when we're younger, we don't expect those things to happen. And like you, I didn't go through a fire, but I mean, brain tumor, back surgery, thyroid surgery, having a baby 3 months early.
Yeah,
My daughter was two
yeah,
pounds, one
yeah,
ounce, all of those things. So we have a lot of similarities with the level of kind of disruptions
yes,
in our lives.
yes.
So is there some coping way you have of coping with these things? Like, what do you want to share with people about
Yeah, I
how
love
you
that
got
question.
through them? Yeah.
I love that question. Yeah, brain tumor. Yeah, no big deal, right? A little bit of a big deal. I
Yeah.
also wanted to share too, I had a lot of emotional abuse in my marriage. I was married to a narcissist. I was raped several times. And so I was molested at 5. So
Mm,
there are people that have had all these traumas, and a lot of people grow up and they act from those traumas, from those spaces. And I had a lot of fear also.
right.
But in reality, again, it took me a lot of years to find my way to the light. I prayed a lot, even in my darkest days. I was on
Mm,
my knees, and
mm,
I knew that I was special for some reason. I didn't know what it was. And then I started meditating and I started learning more about my spirituality. And again, if you're in the space right now, there are several tools that I use that I've learned about. For me, one of the ones I actually write about is future gratitude, which is in one of the books that
mm.
I was collectively in, but also keeping an evidence journal, because you
Yes.
know life happens and we forget about the angels and the miracles and the things that show up for us. And when we're in that space, sometimes we're grateful, sometimes we're just trying to hang on, we're trying to get above the water and not drown.
Right.
But when you start, when something happens, it's really cool to just learn to stop yourself and say, wait a minute, I've been through stuff before, but what can I remember that happened for me, back when I had this situation or this situation. And that's why
Right.
it's great to have an evidence journal. You can start one today. When I had the fire, I had one
Hmm.
friend, because I went through fire and cancer at the same time and
Wow.
rebuilding. All my friends flew the coop. They all left. I had nobody, but I had this one friend of mine, Belinda Hill. She's from England, and our daughters were in school together. She came over with meals every night. My
Nice.
sister flew in so that I could shower, and she took care of me after the breast cancer. And, I had to put a plastic bag over me, and, it was just like a whole thing. It was like, it was
Right.
a comedy routine, actually. But I started, whenever things happen, I always remember that, if I don't know if you believe in God, the universe, whatever you believe in, but something has our back at all times. And
Totally.
whatever happens that's quote unquote bad, there's always the opposite that shows up as well. There's a balance. So
Totally.
some people,
Totally.
opportunities, situations, someone comes to the rescue. So try to remember or look back on and or start an evidence journal, so that when those times hit, you have something to, ground yourself with.
I love that. And I teach my clients something similar because what happens is when new challenges come, or even when you want to do something big in your life that you've
Yeah.
never done before, when
Right.
you have evidence,
Yes.
then I call it being in the power position.
I love
It
that.
puts you in a mental power position because so many times people say, "Well, I never did that before. I don't know how to do that." But you've been through this, you've
Yeah.
survived that, you've created this, you've accomplished that. Like all of those pieces of evidence show you that you're more than capable of
Oh,
figuring it out. And I
absolutely.
wanted to go back and mention something else. So many things you say resonate with me.
Mhm.
Faith. I have an acronym. I don't know if I mentioned this to you before,
I don't
but
think
I have
so.
an acronym for faith. Fully anticipate it to happen.
I love that. Wow.
Because I remember growing up, I grew up in the church and they would always say, "Oh, you should have faith. You should have faith." And as I got a little older, faith didn't make sense to me. Like it was
Mm.
like one of those woo-woo kind of terms. Like,
Right.
what does that mean? And I have a quick story. Years ago, I went to Sedona, Arizona with my ex-husband, my daughter, and my ex-husband's grandmother, who at the time was around 97. She lived to
Wow.
105,
Wow.
but she was around 97. And they all wanted to go on a helicopter ride. And I did not want to get on a helicopter. I didn't even like flying. I don't mind now, but I didn't even like flying. Grandma looked at me. And then you had to have at least, I think it was, there had to have at least four people to go on the plane.
Oh, yes.
Otherwise, they wouldn't
Mhm.
take it out.
Mhm.
So they were waiting for me to change my mind because I said, I am not going on this helicopter. And grandma, I'm 5'8". Grandma was maybe 5'1", 5'2", 5', 5'1". She looked up at me and said, "Where is your faith?"
Oh, Yeah.
It gave me chills, and I just said, "Okay, okay, I'm gonna trust if, if this 97-year-old
Yes.
wants to get on the helicopter, who am I to, deny her of that
That's
experience?"
awesome.
And
Yeah.
ever since then, I got really curious about faith, and just started researching, like, what does it mean? How
Yeah.
can I define it for myself? And that's how I came up with the acronym,
Yeah.
because all of the things that I've been through, similar to what you've been through, without faith, without anticipating that the outcome is going to be what you desire,
Yes.
it makes it challenging. It really
Yeah.
makes it challenging without the faith.
It does. I mean, like when stuff happens to us, like when I was young and those things happened to me, like getting raped in college and all that kind of stuff. I did not know who I was. I was completely unconscious. And at that point, you wonder, what's wrong with me? Am I safe? I used to have dreams that bad things were going to happen to me. And I just thought I was here and bad things were going to happen to me. So,
Right.
I think that I really believe that the situations that happen to us, and this may be hard for some people to hear, especially if you've lost a child or something catastrophic,
Right.
but it's really a way to wake us up. These things I talk about it in my book, Your Turning Point, um, that it's kind of the universal 2 by 4. We're just gliding through life
Mm.
oftentimes, and we are not paying attention, and we are busy, 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 but we're not present at all to anything,
Right.
let alone gratitude, faith, or anything else. We're just trying to live our lives and make money and all that kind of stuff. And so, yeah, I just feel like that's a really important piece of everything is that, sorry, I'm sitting on my foot and it's going to sleep. You know how that goes.
Oh, well, we can't see that.
No, we can't see that. Um, and now I forgot what I was talking about. Senior moment. Here we go. What was I just saying?
That's okay. About presence and faith.
Oh yeah, yeah. When that we're unconscious. Thank you. Haven't had my coffee yet. I need to take a few sips. Um, so these things happen again for us. The divine wants us to know it, or the universe, or whatever that universal beautiful energy is. It
Right.
wants us to know it better. It wants us to again believe that it has our back. It wants us to see how it acts and see it in action. And for me, I mean, I know some people who are atheists. I don't know how they even survive on the planet, because that would be like living, like I said, in a black hole.
Totally.
But I've had so many experiences, you probably have too. I have angel wings in my pictures, specifically these iridescent, like I have had
Mm.
so many things show up saying, I'm here. I'm like right on top of you. You don't see me because you're so busy spinning in your own
Yeah.
stuff.
Right.
So the things that happen are really a blessing, and even the hard things, because it really makes you sit down and stop and be present. When I lost my house to fire, I had nothing but my toothbrush. We got out and we lost everything. And in that moment, I
Wow.
had to say that that year between the fire, the cancer, and the rebuilding was one of the most present years of my life. Literally every day I had
Mm.
to live moment to moment, and it was a gift. It was difficult, but it was a gift.
Yeah, I cannot even imagine. Where were you living when that happened?
I was in San Diego
Okay.
in 2007, the Witch Creek fires. And that was 4 years. My daughter had lost her house with her father 4 years previous in the Cedar fires. So
Oh
we had
my
a lot of
goodness.
fire trauma within a short amount of time in our
Yeah.
family. Yeah. But
Yeah.
again, it's just, and also I was praying for things. I was burnt out on my music career, which I had done for a long time. And I was reading Eckhart Tolle's books about being present, living in the present moment, and dying to self. And so my prayer was,
Mm.
Spirit, help me to die to self before I die, which means losing your
Mm.
attachments to things. And so when you pray, you're heard. And
Totally.
it doesn't always mean it's going to be sunshine and sparkles all the time. It's going to be whatever is
No.
best for you. And so those things happened, but they happened for me. They really did. And they
Yeah,
woke me
but
up.
and
Yeah.
when you say die to self, talk
Yeah.
more about that. I know what that means, but I think there's a lot of people now that are fighting. Like I,
Yeah.
I coach people all the time and they say, but I used to be like this and this has changed and this, but they're fighting the change.
Right.
And
Right.
sometimes the dying to the self is forced on us,
Yeah.
right? by
Yeah.
circumstance. And
Yes.
then other times we make a conscious decision. So can you talk a little bit more about what that means to you?
Yeah, when I started reading about that, I it really hit me because we're attached to our kids, we're attached to money and material things, we're attached to our opinions, we're attached to everything imaginable. And again, that's part of the story that keeps us spinning and going in circles all the time. And so to
Right.
die to self really is about surrender, surrendering to whatever brought you here and whatever is, breathing this life through you. And
Mhm.
so dying to self really means, again, losing the attachments. Like when I lost my house to wildfire, of course, I mourned. There was a period I mourned because I had my kids'
Oh,
stuff, my
yeah.
parents, I had antiques, all kinds of things I lost. And so I had to work through that. But it really was a piece of the dying to self. When you lose everything, whether it's through a flood, like the people going through the hurricanes right now, or a fire, whatever it is, um, even like when I had cancer and I lost a breast, we're so
Right.
attached to this image. And or this idea of who we are. And
Right.
when you lose things, you kind of lose your identity. When I lost my house, it was like, who am I? And I realized my
Yeah.
identity was based on what I had, my stuff, my story. And until you go through that experience, it doesn't hit you as hard as it hit me then. But I knew
Yeah.
that something was very off. And I was holding on for dear life to all of these things, even material things. When we die, we don't take anything with
Exact
us. We have to let go of
right.
our children, our families, our money, our houses, our stuff. And that's a hard process. So
Totally.
dying to self is a process of really surrendering, learning to go with the flow, being easy about everything you have. Everything you have is on loan. None of it is yours. None
Totally.
of it belongs to
Yes.
you. Um, and it kind of, again, it's a refinement process of who am I? How do I want to live? How can I use my days to the best of my ability? How can I really be in the present moment? Part of surrender is being present. What's happening now? We're so used to being in the past or so busy about the future that we
Right.
forget that right now is all there is. I mean, I always this sounds crazy, but I used to say, I could be on this interview with you and drop dead in 5 minutes.
Totally.
Was I present in this moment to you and I having this conversation, being in this energy, sharing all this information with these wonderful people? Or was
Right.
I ready to get on to the next thing, painting or whatever I'm going to do next?
Totally.
So yeah, so dying to self, I learned a lot about it through Eckhart Tolle's books, like The Power of Now, that kind of stuff.
Yes.
So those are a good place to start, just to start the process of understanding it.
It just really shocks me how many people aren't aware of that and fight it. I was riding in my car the other day and it just popped in my mind like what they call a midlife crisis is not really a crisis, it's an identity shift. It's
Yes,
being called to die to
yes,
yourself and create a new version of yourself because every year that passes, so many people and I think people have this problem with aging. Like every year that passes, we change. Every day we change.
mhm, yes,
But people fight the change instead of embracing the change. But if you
mhm,
die to self and you're in the present moment, you're not fighting those things. Like, I'm not fighting that like, I saw this young lady the other day say, "Oh," it kind of annoyed me. She said, "Oh, I lift weights a lot and I'm frowning when I lift weights, so that's why I get Botox." And it was so annoying to me. I was just like, "I'm 68 and I'm not knocking anybody that gets Botox, but I don't give a damn about the wrinkle in my
right.
forehead, okay?" Nobody cares about the wrinkle in my forehead. Like, nobody cares about
Only
my
us.
gray hair.
Yes,
Nobody cares. So when I think about dying to self, like I had to leave the version of me, and Wayne Dyer talked about this.
yes,
There's so many different version of ourselves inside of ourself, right? So I had to leave behind the 20-year-old that had no gray hair, whose back didn't hurt, who, moved a little faster, could run and do whatever.
yeah,
I
no, I
had
agree.
to let that go
Yeah.
And I think so many people suffer because they don't want to let past versions of their self go. Have you been challenged by that, or has it
Yeah.
been something?
No, that's a great question. To be honest, yes. I mean, I can be very vain at times
Mm,
because I think part of it is I feel like a 5-year-old inside. Our inner selves, our
yes.
higher selves, our inner children, we are eternal souls and we are eternally youthful. When my father was dying and he laid in the hospital bed and went through weeks of torture, let's put it that way,
Yeah.
I remember seeing him one day when they hooked him up again. They should have just put him in a room to die. But anyway, he was in his 80s and he had his hair was up, on top. And I took a picture of him and his face was so childlike, even in that moment.
Mm,
So, and I
mm,
I really feel that. I feel that we are all eternal children. So sometimes we
yes.
have this idea that we should look this way, but this isn't us anyway. This is an illusion, right? This is physical body
Yeah.
going to go away. It's not who we are.
Right.
So yes, I
Right.
think we all struggle with that stuff. And I'm with you. I don't judge anybody. However, I've seen so many people, even celebrities with a lot of money who can actually go to really good plastic surgeons for facelifts and stuff like that, and they don't look like themselves afterward. And I'm like, that's so
Right.
sad because the beauty of it is that whatever that essence is, once you alter it, it's gone. It's not you.
Totally. Totally.
So that
And
fascinates me because it's weird how they lose their beautiful
yeah,
essence.
totally. And I don't mean to say I never struggle with that. I
Yeah.
still struggle with it, but to me, my soul's work is to walk through it,
Yes.
not try to find shortcuts around it. So I look at accepting, I mean, it's been years, but I used to dye my hair like all the time. And finally, I got tired of fighting the gray
Mm,
hair. Like
yeah.
the gray is gonna win.
Yes.
There is no way I wanted to fight that battle. Some people don't mind. I called it a battle because
I still
it
do it.
doesn't but it doesn't like for me, I didn't want to keep going to the hair salon every 6 weeks to color my hair.
Me either. It's expensive
That
too.
Right, that was a choice I made, and it was hard. Like, at the time, I worked in Washington, DC, and I would walk down the street at lunchtime like, "Oh my god, I'm looking old, I have gray hair," all the things, right? But then, once I let go of that thought, literally, people started complimenting me on my hair,
Yeah.
and it was the weirdest thing to me. It's like, once I started loving like, the thing that you and I don't even know how I pivoted to this, but the thing that you like the least about yourself, if you fall in love with it, everybody else will fall in love with it. And that goes back to you mentioned earlier about the way we're thinking about things.
Yeah. Well, it
You
is that. I mean, it's your acceptance of yourself. I mean, even the days I look in the mirror and I don't like this, I don't like that. And I think, you know what, Lisa, one day this physical body's going to be gone. So you better love it now. This is what
yeah,
you were given. And by the way, I do love your gray hair. My gray hair, it's like it doesn't look like anything yet. So once it does, I'll stop.
yeah, mine didn't look like anything really until I cut it all my hair. I just cut it
And
all off
start all over.
and
Yeah, just let it
started
grow out. Yeah. I've
yeah,
seen some
yeah.
gorgeous, I mean, lots of friends of mine with this gorgeous gray long hair.
Mm.
It's so beautiful. I can't remember the name. What's it called? Like the crone energy. When we
Yes,
get older,
crone
it's
energy.
and there's
Yes.
this, oh my gosh, when I look at pictures of women, even in their 70s, 80s, 90s, sometimes there are pictures online of women who are in their bathing suit and they're all wrinkly and they're gray and they have this
Right.
hair, and there is some powerful energy around that crone energy,
Yes.
that wisdom, that maturity, that beauty. It's more gorgeous than anything I could ever like right now looking
Totally.
at myself the way I am. I don't have that. I'm not there
Totally.
yet.
Right.
We're
Yeah.
on our way there.
Right.
But to alter that, because that is part of, I don't know, I'm even feeling like it's something tribal or I don't know, ancient, whatever it is.
Yeah.
There is a beauty and a wisdom and a maturity and instead of bashing old people, we should be honoring them, women and men, honoring them
Yes.
to be where, I mean, to be at this age, we're blessed to be here. Not everybody
Totally.
makes it to
Totally.
65 or 68.
Totally. And
It's an
and
honor.
and these conversations for me is I want women to know that it is something to celebrate and not be afraid of.
Yes.
Because actually my mind is so sharp at 68. Like, and my mom was like that too. My mom died at 80, she was 86, and she actually it was a slow death. She was paralyzed
Mm.
on the left side of her body. She fell and had a spinal cord injury. But when I say powerful, sharp mind, even though she was in a nursing home towards later and then she ended up getting cancer, like, shortly before she died, but so strong and powerful, sharp mind, and so, fortunately, maybe I have some good genes when it comes to that, but I feel sharper and energetic. I get tired like the next person, but this is an amazing time to me. And I remember Oprah's a few years older than me, but I remember her, I think when she turned 60 and she was saying how it was like the best time of her life.
Yeah.
And also Louise Hay. She's
Yes.
deceased now, but I went to see Louise Hay once. She used to have these conference. Well, I think they still have it. I Can Do It conference, and she had turned 80 something. I don't remember, but she said the 80th decade is the best decade of my life. And I understand that now. I didn't understand it at the time, but I understand that now because if you do the work, the internal work, because it is work,
Yes.
to honor, to really fall in love with yourself and honor yourself, these are amazing times.
They are. Well, I actually worked with Louise Hay when I was in San Diego. I
Oh,
do oh, one of her dearest friends. I think it's Aaliyah. Yeah, no. Yeah. Aaliyah Kadra. She had a wellness center there,
oh,
and Louise went there every week. And we
okay.
worked together. I have pictures of me with her, which is really cool. So I'll never forget it.
Nice.
I got to really thank her and for what she had given me,
Nice.
her wisdom. But what I loved about Louise is what I'm doing, and I'm sure you're doing it as well. And I know, so many of us are. We are taking care of ourselves. We are nurturing ourselves. We are reading. I'm doing my infrared saunas. I'm working with a naturopath again because for me the
Mhm.
challenges are ongoing, but I'm eating better. I'm working with people. I'm meditating. I'm taking walks. I'm doing what I love. I'm painting now, which
Yes.
brings me so much joy. So I know some people who sit around and they're getting old. They don't have any
Right.
mental stimulation. They don't have any hobbies. They don't have any joy in their life. They're not really taking care of themselves. And
Right.
so for me, just so you know who I am, the Western medical system is okay if you like if I break my leg, I want to go to the hospital, get
Oh, yeah,
set.
totally.
But I
Right.
don't do it because to me it's not wellness care, it's sick care. So for me, I choose a more holistic route where I eat right, I balance my body because the body works as a whole. So I know I'm not going to
Mhm.
live forever, but for me to take really good care of myself emotionally, spiritually, physically, and otherwise is everything. I mean, my parents were all on, 25, 30 drugs and in and out of the hospital.
Mhm.
And my mother had a great mindset too. She was right until she died. I took care of her. She had breast cancer and on the outside of her body, and I took care of her until she passed away. But I was so honored in that moment because she was okay with going. She didn't really want to go
Yeah.
and leave her grandson, but
Right.
she
That
was
was
okay. Like she was like, okay,
yeah.
it's my time. No fear, lots of wisdom. And so when you're
Yeah.
around older people like that, especially through the death process, um, you there's some nasty old people that I've been around too, but like the people who are
Right.
really connected, they really give you hope because it's amazing to see the power and the strength in somebody, especially when they're going through a health challenge and they're passing in their 80s or 90s.
Yes,
That's not easy
totally.
either. It's like we have to um again, if it's your day, right, you have to become accepting of, surrender to,
Totally. And
what's happening, whether you want it to happen or not. And so there's
right,
wisdom in that, and there's a joy in that. So yeah, but I think that's the biggest message for me. However you choose to take care of yourself, like I said, I don't judge anybody for doing whatever they do. My personal
right.
choice is something, that I've chosen. But if you don't have your health, you don't have anything.
Totally. I talk to like my daughter's 35 and she I always say under my watch she ate healthy. She did all of these things, but under her watch it's like, "Oh, I'm busy. I'm just going to get fast food. Oh, I'm busy."
I have a
You know,
30-year-old, I understand.
weight gain and all the things. And so, it's like I think sometimes they probably think we're crazy, but I'm just like you. It's so interesting. Like I have been obsessed with taking care of myself
Yeah,
always, as long as I can
yeah,
remember. I
yeah.
got certified as a health coach, a vegan lifestyle coach. I've been vegan, I've juiced, I've fasted, I've been to homeopath and naturopaths and acupuncture and all the things. I
Yeah,
have craniosacral therapy and
yeah,
all. And for those of you that are listening, just look these things up if they're
yes.
not familiar to you because they are amazing alternatives. And I look at you and I see myself and it's obvious that we've taken care of ourselves, right?
Yeah,
We're
even
both
for me, in the midst of a chronic illness, I've had it in my body my whole life. When my immune system went back down in 2019, then we realized that I've had it since I was 5. I had symptoms my whole life and nobody ever really knew it. But
mm,
I feel, even with some of the challenges I'm still dealing with, because I go to chiropractic, like you, chiropractic, infrared, naturopath, the whole thing. But I feel healthier now than I ever did because I'm actively taking a part in um,
yes,
aligning my body and balancing my body. There's so many people walking around with aches and pains that do not have health. And I know when you're sick, you can't focus on anything else. And
right.
your mindset's not very good either. So,
Totally. But the thing is, what I really advocate for is if you're sick, do
yes,
these things
yes,
because they will bring
yes,
you peace and especially the mental perspective of it. I was talking to a client the other day and I said, last year I was diagnosed with ADHD. It
yeah,
wasn't really a surprise, and that was
right.
why I kind of like started searching for help because my mind just
I
like
have that too.
it,
So,
yeah, there's good
yeah,
aspects of it and there's
it
challenging
makes life
aspects of it,
challenging. Yes, yes.
right? But when
Yeah,
I kept saying to myself, "Oh, I have ADHD, I have
right.
ADHD. I need to maybe get on medication. Maybe I need to get help." And I started going down that journey. I started feeling worse.
Yes,
And it was just I had this awareness
yes.
I was fine. All
Yeah,
these years, I found ways to navigate, which I mean, it makes sense that I have it because I think about things that I had to do to kind
right.
of survive as a younger person. Like,
Yes.
like one example, I never could find my keys.
Yeah.
Like, I
Oh,
could never find my keys. So, in order for me to not suffer with that, I learned, and this has probably been 40, I'm guessing 40 years ago. I have to put my keys in the same exact place when I walk in the door. Otherwise, I will
yeah.
never find them.
Oh,
So anyway,
cool.
I said
Yeah.
to I had found a psychiatrist that was an expert in ADHD. And finally one day I said to her, ADHD is not a problem.
Right. Right.
And
Yeah.
she was just like, I'm so glad that you came to
Yeah.
that realization.
Yeah.
I
Well,
and
yeah.
and when something isn't a problem, like I lost my hearing in my left ear, an allergic reaction to CBD. Who like
Right.
peop sometimes I tell people and they don't even believe me. They're
I
like, "That
know.
can't happen from CBD." It did happen. I got
Right.
some of it back, but me having that happen is not a problem. And I
Yeah.
get from you too that it's kind of like, "Yes, this has happened.
Yeah.
Okay, how do I deal with it?"
Well, can I share something really quickly? Because I have so many tips like you do and tools. Like when I almost died from the Lyme. What I did was I went through a month of suffering, and then I started painting my anger. I had the angels, ignoring
Ah,
me, and the hell down here, I expressed my emotions through that. But then when I made a choice for my life, because I figured, I don't know if I'm getting out of this or not, but I'm gonna fight for my life. I started dancing. Joe would bring me books and Jason Mraz music, and I dance around
oh
the
yeah, I
house,
know
and I would
him.
put
Yeah.
sticky notes literally on the walls, the ceilings, with
Oh,
affirmations. So if you are
yeah.
really wanting to change a situation, if you actively jump in and do things like sticky notes with affirmations where you see them all the time, because like I'm like
I
you, Gail,
mean,
yes, with the ADHD, it's like I'm a fart in a skillet, as my mother used to say. I'm all over the place, right? But I mean, and I read books, and I did, Joe Dispenza's meditations, and I did like Donna Eden's energy medicine. Like I tried everything. I've been doing Qigong for years.
hmm
So there's so many tools available, and now they're on the internet. They're on YouTube. You can look
Yes,
them up. It's not
totally.
like we have to go to the World Book Encyclopedia now and get our
Right.
information, right? It's out there.
Yeah.
You remember those days too. So yeah, I just wanted to share that if you make a choice, because I've worked with several life coaches also, and it's about choosing. I like, even if you're
Totally.
in suffering right now today, I choose this. I choose it. And then, like you had said, with your gray hair, I love it. I love this, and I know that sounds counterproductive, but it's actually not. It's actually bringing love to the energy of love to all of that. And then you use these tools. I
Totally.
think people don't feel like they have a toolkit, or they don't know what to do or where to go.
Yes, that's
So
exactly it. And when you were saying about I have sticky
yeah,
notes all around my
me
computer.
too.
But
Too many.
when I was working in corporate, because I want people to leave this conversation knowing that whatever they're going through, there is hope. We
Yes.
understand there are options, there are tools you can put in your toolbox. When I was in corporate, hating my job, not wanting to be there, but feeling like I had no other option, because a lot of people watching this, they're saying that to themselves. I hear people say that all the time. I can't quit my job. I have to have a
Right.
job. I have to. You don't have to do anything. You get to
Right.
choose. But when
Yeah.
I was at that job, I had sticky notes all around my computer, and then I would print out affirmations and different
Mm.
things. And in my office, my desk was up against the wall. I had them taped to the wall. So my coworkers thought I was cuckoo. You
And
know,
who cares, right? It's
right, no,
you have to function, right?
I
Right.
didn't care. And I
Right.
tell my clients now, you can change the energy in the room.
Yes.
I tell them to bring, and this is for anyone, spray lavender around your
Yes.
workspace, put
Yes.
up affirmations, bring in crystals, people
Yeah.
put them in your desk drawer, like
You know me. I've got them everywhere.
all
Crystals,
of those
sprays.
things.
Yeah.
Yes, all of those things
I
help. And they
even
got
have
me
my little
through.
unicorn in a bag here that's adorable.
I
Yeah, I've
love it.
got all this stuff around. Yeah, I love that. I
I,
mean,
I and it's so funny because we didn't even know each other
I
until a month
know.
or so
I
ago,
think we're the
and
same person.
it's so wild. I mean, and I want to mention this too, rescue remedy. Have you ever heard of rescue
Oh yeah,
remedy?
use
I
that.
tell people just go to Whole Foods or the health food store if you're anxious about things. Like I used to get anxious commuting, like the
Yeah,
traffic. I live in Maryland and the
it's
traffic
understandable.
going to DC. I carried rescue remedy around with me. So I even tell my clients, if you're at work, no matter where you are and you're starting to feel anxious, it's made from flower essences. It's not
Right,
gonna harm you.
right.
You These are all tools. So,
Aromatherapy. Yeah, I mean, all
oh
kinds
yeah,
of different,
totally. I
the scents around you actually, affect
Totally.
your
It's
mood.
so funny you said that about therapy. When I went through coach certification, which was in 2020 during the pandemic, when we were on lockdown, I
Right.
got certified. I was in therapy too because when George Floyd was murdered, I
Mm.
was
Yeah.
so in my head about not feeling safe and all the things.
Understandable. Yeah.
And and in my coach certification, I was the only person of color in my cohort, and this is going on. and I didn't even feel safe being coached around it. It was just a lot of, and then COVID. And so I was in therapy and getting certified as a coach at the same time. Like, it's so worth it
Do
to,
whatever it takes. Yeah. Yeah.
yeah.
And I
So
think a lot of people don't want to spend the money, but it's worth it. It's worth,
I'd rather eat peanut butter and jelly every day
right.
and spend the money. I mean, we do get to choose how to spend our money,
We do.
right?
Yeah.
I'd rather not take a vacation. I'd rather not buy clothes or
Mm.
whatever the things are. I'd
Mm.
rather buy 10 of these books.
Oh, you're like me. I know it's your
I,
priorities, really.
that's just me. So before we go, because we could go on and
I
on
know.
about all of this, but I do want to spend a few minutes talking about miracles because
Oh,
I love miracles. I think of, we
oh,
were talking about this. Everything to me is a miracle. Like my daughter was born, she weighed 2 pounds, 1 ounce.
yeah.
She's a miracle. Like I live with miracles every day and my awareness of miracles. So, let's talk about what did you say in the book about miracles and what is your view of miracles?
Well, as I shared with you, when I first met Joe back in 2017, I had interviewed him for one of my
And
summits.
tell people who Joe
Oh,
is
Dr.
because
Joe Vitale.
you keep mentioning
He's my
Joe.
other half. Yeah,
I was
my life partner.
Yes. And
But
their pictures up
oh,
there on the shelf.
oh yeah, we're back there. Okay. Okay.
Okay, so go
So
ahead.
he really shifted my perspective because in our conversation, he had this one little portion and he was saying, people are talking about miracles and they're like, where's my miracle? I want a miracle. I haven't seen a miracle. Where is it? What do I do? And he looked at me and he said, wake up, people. You are the miracle. Everything in your life is a miracle. That's it. Everything is a miracle. And then I told you, I said, we talked about how our lungs breathe us without anything. Our heart beats without a battery. Everything that
Right.
happens every day. We live on a planet in outer space. Made me start
To
thinking about and there's
totally.
gravity here. We don't fly.
Totally. Right.
So everything literally is a miracle. And I have to share with you real quickly too, that when I was taking care of my mother and she was dying, and I was writing that book and it was just coming through me. I was like channeling it. I had wanted to write for so long and it just was the right time and it happened.
Mhm.
Um, I was I wrote about the miracle space. It was really where I was residing at the time. And it doesn't happen all like we are in the miracle space now, but our mind gets in the way and life
Yeah.
challenges and all that stuff. But when you are super aligned, and I was in a space of love and I was taking care of my mom and I had left my coaching and everything else behind to go live with her. And literally I would be driving down the road and I would just feel God or the universe or the divine. And I would stop and I would
Mhm.
start to cry. I would go outside and just breathe in the air. And I was filled with such joy. So when
Mhm.
you can again be present, you can't make it happen. But when you can start shifting your emotions, your mindset, being in a state of gratitude is one of the biggest things you can do because we so
Totally.
often ignore all the things that we have. I mean, we gripe about the country, and yes, there are a lot of things wrong with the country, but if you compare our country with a lot of other countries, we need to be grateful
Yeah.
every day for the freedoms that we
Totally.
do have.
Right.
So, I mean, gratitude is huge, but when you start living from that space, and my experience may not be your experience, but I literally felt like I was in the pocket with the divine. I saw
Mhm.
magic and miracles. I felt healthy. I felt love. I looked healthy. I had these moments of downloads. I don't know if you saw it or not, but I put on Facebook not too long ago, right after my mother passed away, like a couple days after. I was sitting on her back porch and I was
Mhm.
typing my book and I looked, and all of a sudden, I like to look at clouds. I looked at the clouds and I
Me
looked down.
too.
There was an angel with a sword, and I have a picture of it. It is so
Oh,
profound, and
wow.
it still blows my mind today. So I felt like I was getting messages. So
Right.
this is the space we live in right now. We don't have to, like Joe says, expect miracles. Well, truly, you are a miracle. You're living in a miracle space. So start looking around and acknowledging the miracles,
Yes,
large and small, that come to you every day.
totally. Every time you say something, I'm like, I do.
I'm
Uh,
sweating. I got the
that's
heat
because
going.
that's because this is a good conversation. My grandson, who's 5, when some we walk a lot because
Happy
I love that.
birthday.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's his birthday today. But I walk a lot. I'm outdoors a lot. He loves the outdoors, but I'm always bringing his attention to the clouds. So it's interesting that you said that. I love the clouds. I love like so many things you've said today have brought up memories. Like one other thing I want to share, similar to your mom, when my mom was passing, she was worried about me being single because I had gone through a divorce
Oh,
a couple of years before
oh,
that.
yeah.
And she was worried about me being alone and being single. And I said to her, and people were like, "You told her that?" But I said to her, "I'll be fine." And she said, "Gail, I'm just tired." And I
Mm,
said, "If you're ready to go, it's okay."
yeah.
And she looked at me and she said, "Really?" Almost like a child. She said, "Really?" I said, "Yes, it's okay. I'll be fine." And from that moment on, she was at peace. And
Yeah, you gave
so,
her permission. Yeah.
yeah, so we every day, that was a miracle to me. That was a miracle to me that I was able. Can you imagine you give your parent permission that it's okay to die,
Yeah.
right?
They need
That's
it to let go. Yeah.
yes, because she was holding on, worried
You.
about me. And it's
Right.
like, you
Yeah.
don't have to worry about me. I'm fine, you
Beautiful.
know?
Yeah.
And I will mention today, it's not only my grandson's birthday, but it's my mother's birthday. He
Oh,
was born on my mom's birthday.
wow,
So
that's a gift. Wow.
it's amazing. And I mentioned today on Facebook, not only is it my mom's birthday and my grandson, but my daughter's OBGYN, her birthday is October the 11th too.
Special day.
When the lady said to me at the hospital, like, "Oh, well, she said to me and my daughter, I'm probably not going to be here for the delivery because you're probably going to deliver tomorrow. It's my birthday."
Yeah.
And we were blown away. We're like, "Wait, October 11th is your birthday?" But it
Wow.
was just wild.
Right.
Miracle. See, to me, that's a miracle.
All of it.
That's saying that this child is coming into a miraculous environment with people and angels all around him. So we get to choose how we look at things. And when you say gratitude, sometimes I will drive somewhere and I will turn on my street and I'll say, "Thank you. Thank you, God, for letting me get home safely." Because I don't take any of it for granted.
Yeah.
So I even will sit in my car feeling gratitude for driving home safely and arriving back to my home.
Everything is every second is that we're here is a miracle, and I have gratitude. Gratitude is something I think has to be what's the word? I'm having trouble with words this morning. I better get some coffee in me soon. You have to work on it because a lot of times if you sit there,
Oh,
somebody says, "Oh, be grateful when you get up in the morning."
yeah, that
You're
doesn't
like,
mean
"I'm
anything
grateful."
to me.
Yeah, blah, blah, blah. Right. So that's why, um, like my little exercise of future gratitude, like being grateful that something has already happened before it's happened and
Mm,
drumming up the energy of it. That's another tip I wanted to give people also is when you elevate your vibrations, like for me to go paint in my studio brings me a lot of joy, or listening to music brings me joy, or thinking about my baby girl brings me joy.
yeah,
To elevate and then be grateful, it's a practice and it's something that you can start amping up, so that because gratitude also brings a lot with it as well. It's such a powerful energy.
totally,
So yeah,
totally. Well, I'm grateful for you today.
I'm grateful for you as well.
I'm grateful for this conversation. It's been amazing, and I really appreciate you and your time. I don't take it for granted. And can you please tell everybody where they can find you, about your book?
Oh
The
my
book,
goodness.
the book we're in together is right on her bookshelf, Radical Freedom.
Oh, freedom. Yeah.
And her other book is behind her. So tell the people
Turning
where they
point.
can tell the people where they can find you.
Well, I'm all over the place. I'm on Facebook, Lisa Winston, and it says Lisa Winston Fine Art. I'm on Instagram as Lisa A. Winston. My website, which is going to be under construction soon, but it still has a lot of info about me, is art www.lisawinston.com. I think that's correct. I haven't looked at it in so long. I don't know if it's Lisa. No, it's
Well,
Lisa Winston.
it'll be in the
Art
notes.
dot Lisa. I don't know what it is. Yeah, put it up for me, please.
Yeah.
One of those mornings. But yeah, you can just see what I do in my artwork. And yes, I'm in the book Your Turning Point, Radical Freedom, and all those are on Amazon, so they can look
Right.
those up and follow us as authors. And I'm around.
Well, thank you so much, Lisa Winston. It's been a joy.
I love you. Thank you for having me.